Hey, this is GemmyD's on Cars.
Hey everybody, this is Dan for GemmyD on Cars. Today is a very special day on the channel because this is probably the nicest car I've ever driven, the nicest car I've had on this channel, and it is 2015 BMW M3 sedan. Now this is the F80 version. This is a 2015, which is the first model for this generation. I just did a POV video with this thing, just so I could get a little acclimated with it. It is so sweet. I mean, the engine is absolutely a thing of beauty. It's got a 3-liter inline 6 twin turbo, 425 horsepower, 406 pounds of torque, and the torque is what gets me the most, because starting at like 3,000 RPMs and even like 3,000 to 4,000, that's like right in the middle of the torque band. It is just so sweet. Alright, so I came in out of the wind. I want to make sure that I get all this information out. I don't want the wind messing with me. So I'm going to give you a little bit of history lesson. Now, when I was a kid, my dad had a 1978 BMW 5 Series, and that was really like what started my love for BMWs. And then a couple years after that, he had a 1987 BMW 535 IS, and it was in bright red, and I was so in love with that car. I mean, it didn't turn out to be the nicest car for my dad, but just the looks and the styling and the red, it was the red that, I say it all the time on my videos, I'm a sucker for red, but I feel like when I was a kid, that was when my love for the red cars started. But the BMW 3 Series is always really been my favorite type of car. I mean, I've always loved BMWs, and you know, starting from the E30 M3, which is basically like a legend in BMW M, you know, annals. You went from the E30 to go to the E36. And the other thing, I don't know why, but BMW owners are like the most, you know, nerdy with the code names. Everybody's always like, you know, E30, E46, you know, E65. You had the E36, that had a 6-cylinder engine, but it was only 240 horsepower. I think in Europe it was actually like 333 horsepower with the E36, but not until the E46, which I think is one of the best BMWs ever made, certainly one of the best M's. That had a 3-liter inline 6, 333 horsepower, naturally aspirated, but it was like the time of cars and technology that it was really just your right foot and a rear-wheel drive car, and no, you know, electric, you know, settings, no manual mode like this car has. But after the E46, which is legendary status, they switched up to a naturally aspirated 4-liter V8. It was high revving. It was like 414 horsepower. That was one of the sweetest naturally aspirated BMWs, and it's probably gone up in value because now that they've done forced induction with this car. So this car is a 3-liter inline 6 twin turbo, 7-speed dual clutch transmission, which is super fast. You know, when I drove it earlier, it's just they're pretty instant shifts. I mean, you don't have to guess when it's going to shift. You know when it's going to shift. Now this car got a little bit of flack because they went from hydraulic steering to electric steering, and I think they did that throughout the BMW range completely. And they also went forced induction because everybody's going forced induction now. I mean, you cannot even get a brand new Porsche 911 without a turbo. Everything from the Carrera all the way up to the GT2 RS is turbo. But this car came out for 2014, and it's it was the sedan and the coupe version, and it wasn't generally held in the highest regard like the E46 or the E92, just because they made the switch from the hydraulic steering to electric steering. But it doesn't bother me any bit. I love this car. It's just BMWs have always been known for the sweetest inline six engines, and this car is no exception at all. You've got modes for handling and steering. There's comfort. It's actually up here on the dash when I turn the car on a little bit, but there's comfort and sport plus. Now I actually tried out all three of them when I was driving, even the steering and the transmission. Sport plus is fine. I mean, it's a little harsh for everyday use, but I think sport is kind of like the sweet spot in between. Sure, if you're driving on the highway, you could put it in comfort and then efficient of the transmission, and you'd be perfectly fine. But this car has the carbon fiber. It's so nice. It's got like a glossy finish. You got it up here on the dash as well. So nice. You got the long 8-inch screen there. This one has the paddle shifters, which are nice. But yeah, this car, I'm gonna go outside and show the outside, but it's finished in Alpine white, beautiful classic BMW color. You got the dark finish wheels. But yeah, let's check out the outside. Now, you've got the aggressive front end that only is for the M cars. I think, you know, the only thing you get that's different for the M3 as far as badging is right here and then on the back of the car. You've got the famous BMW Angel Eyes. That goes with the daytime running lights. Now, with the newer generation, you know, this 3 Series that was redesigned, they've sort of changed the look of the Angel Eyes a little bit. Now they're a little bit more angular, but they start off here and go down into the grille more. I think this car is just these two right here. But they've gotten bigger with the generations. They used to be complete circles, and now you can kind of see that it's that outside and then they're flat on the bottom and top. But you've got the black kidney grills. You've got the aggressive front bumper that only the M cars have. This car has the M specific mirrors. You don't get that on any other 3 Series. These wheels are special for the M class too. I love the brakes. There's some mean looking brakes. You got the blue calipers. And I think this is actually functional. The air coming up through the tire and the wheel well, it goes out that way. You've got another M3 badging there. Now the one thing you can really tell at the back is how wide these hips are of this car. I mean, other 3 Series definitely do not have that. You can tell just to accommodate the bigger suspension and the wider wheels. You've got the M3 badge right here. You've got quad exhaust tips, which you can't get on any other BMW. You've got the more aggressive front rear bumper too. But yeah, I think it was for 2016. They came out with the competition pack, which had the different wheels and they updated the lights. I think in BMW speak it's called LCI. It's like a life cycle, I don't know, improvement. I'll have to look that up. But this car looks absolutely mean in the white. I would seriously consider the white if I got a car like this. The Alpine white, I think they call it. The E92 BMW M3 had the big power bulge. That was the one with the V8. And I think they've sort of done the same thing with this car. I think you can get carbon fiber roofs with the newer ones. This car doesn't have it. You don't really need it. It's probably just a little bit of weight savings, but this car is such a sweetie. I absolutely love it. I'm in love. This is the first, I think this is the first M car that I've ever driven. And you can tell, you can see the heritage in the car right away. I always like the little M emblem on the wheels too. Always been a fan of the 5-spoke wheels. So yeah, let's take her out for a ride. Alright, so we are here in the M3. I'm going to start it up. Listen. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So what's to say about this car that hasn't been said already? No, it's just a great car. I'm glad that I did the POV drive before I took this out for like a review, just because I wanted to see what it was like. I didn't want it to be talking about. Didn't know what I'm talking about. But there is there are 243 different combinations you can use for the transmission and the handling and the steering. I mean, there's down here there's a button for the steering and the transmission, and there's efficient and sport. Look, I just put it in sport. Did you hear that? That got different right away. So I've got that in sport, and I got the handling in sport too, which I think that's what should be used most of the time. But just listen to it. It just sounds so good. 7-speed dual clutch transmission. I mean, it's ZF. You can't get better than ZF. I think they're making the best transmissions in the world, aside from Porsche that makes the PDK. But the engine really is the star of this car. I mean, 3 liters. You got 2 turbos. BMW doesn't make anything better than a straight 6. BMW will go down in history for making some of the best straight 6-cylinder engines ever. Now, the one good thing about this car compared to the previous generation M3, which was the E92, is that car had 414 horsepower. It was a 4-liter V8, but it only had like 300-something torque. This car has 406 pounds-foot of torque. It was over 100 more than the other car, and you can definitely feel the torque better in this. I mean, you can definitely feel the torque at all times. I mean, that's what makes the car feel even sweeter, is that you've got the power. We've got 425 horsepower, but the torque, I mean, you can totally just feel it. Now, this car will do 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds. I don't think I've ever driven a car that had the capability to go to 60 in under 4 seconds. So, you know this car means business. Now, like I said in my POV video, if you put the transmission and the handling in Sport Plus, I mean, it's going to be a harsh ride. Not to the point where it's going to like break your bones, but you really wouldn't want to do that unless you're going for a rip on the highway. I mean, I've got it in sport right now, which is perfectly fine. The suspension doesn't feel too hard. It just feels pretty nice. I'm going to get on the highway up here. I'm going to put it in manual mode so I can use the paddle shifters. The paddle shifters have a nice feel to them. They're big enough in that you can always feel them if you're going all over the wheel. I can't imagine this car on like the Autobahn, just letting it open and going full throttle. it's a 3 Series, so you've got all the technology that comes with the BMW brand as well. You've got the iDrive, you've got navigation, heated seats. There's actually buttons on the steering wheel that I think you can program your M settings into. Like there's one that says M1 and M2. You've got wireless, Bluetooth. You've got everything that BMWs are known for. Plus a kick-ass engine. The stupid daylight savings time. It's 2:30 and the sun. I mean, it's not like the sun's going down yet, but the sun is on its way down. Why do we even have daylight savings time anymore? Does anybody really know? Because I don't. Alright, listen. There's people in my way! Alright, that was 5,000. That was getting up there. I just can't say enough about the engine. It is just so buttery smooth. You can have your Corvettes, your Camaros. I would take this car over those any day. You can tell that the interior is, I mean, it looks expensive. I mean, this is not a cheap car, but everything looks like to be nice quality. The carbon fiber has got a beautiful gloss finish on it. It's just so nice. That's what cars are about. They're about putting a smile on your face. I mean, that's what they do to us. At the end of the day, they put a smile on your face. That's all you can ask for. I'm almost getting kind of sad that my time with this car is almost over. I've had it for about 2 hours now. You know, they say not to meet your heroes. I mean, sure, an M3 coupe and sedan has always been one of my dream cars, and they say don't meet your heroes because you'll be disappointed, but I am definitely not disappointed. This car has definitely delivered on all accounts. I mean, it's just, I knew that my parents have had a 3 Series, a 328 for like 15 years now, and I've always loved BMWs. I always wanted to get a shot to drive an M car, and now that I have, it kind of reaffirms my love for BMWs and M cars. I mean, I don't give a shit about the electric steering versus the hydraulic steering. I'm sure any modern M car that you drive is going to be more than enough as far as performance, but you can tell that they go a little extra mile to make sure that the materials are good and the engine sounds sweet. I mean, that's it. Reaffirms my love for BMWs and M cars in specific. I've always said that the E39 BMW M5 is one of my favorite road cars, but this car has more power than that. So this car definitely delivers on all accounts. I'm very lucky. I feel very lucky to have the opportunity to drive a car of this caliber, and I appreciate everybody watching my channel. I never thought a year ago that I would do something like this where I get to drive a 500 horsepower Jeep SRT. Thanks, bro. And also this car, M3. So to sum it up, I mean, this car is everything I thought it would be. It's got the power, the looks, the sound, the transmission. It's just awesome. I'm only a couple blocks away. I'm getting sad. I'll play some sad music. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. See ya. Alright, we're gonna give her one last hurrah.